Hello and welcome. All right, so today we have a topic that is a little saucy, but it's one that definitely needs to be discussed. And I will touch on the recent situations that have been happening with Amazon KDP in terms of Kindle Unlimited. I'll talk about that briefly. But for the most part, we'll be talking about pre-orders. So let me know what you are working on today. If you are, well, nowadays, it doesn't have to be today, but let me know what you're working on. And go ahead and add the link to your book in the chat so that others can check it out because you might have an ideal reader here as a part of my audience. And for this, I wanted to really spend some time breaking down a few of the components that happen with pre-orders on Amazon because it can be so easy to assume that hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP is just the best option. And for most authors, it is actually not from a profitable standpoint and also from a longevity standpoint. And so I'll talk about that today. But let me know where you are joining from in the world and also drop the link to your book in the chat and we will go ahead and get started. So, first off, I want to welcome you and give you a little bit of background on this topic. And so, for those of you that haven't followed me, you all know that I am releasing a book called Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders, and I will reveal the subtitle that you all helped me pick out soon. I'll probably do that today or tomorrow, but beyond that, I want to give some backstory and some reasoning and rationale behind why this is so important. And so we'll start off talking a little bit about the Amazon KDP fiasco shenanigans. And this is happening within your account. You may or may not have even noticed it. However, if you participate in Kindle Unlimited, you may notice a drop in your estimated royalties. So you might want to check your dashboard. I normally am someone who does not spend a lot of time checking my Kindle Unlimited dashboard. However, it's something you might want to take into consideration because recently over on Threads, it was shared that there has been a drop, and it's to the point where for some authors, their estimated royalties have been cut in half. Now, not to panic because we have other ways to be profitable outside of Amazon KDP. However, this mostly affects authors who are really heavy, really who get a lot of sales from Kindle Unlimited. So if you don't get a lot of sales from Kindle Unlimited, you don't have to be as concerned about that. But it's something you should be mindful of because it also affects sales other places, and then it affects how users experience your book. So let's say, for example, maybe you are not somebody who's big into Kindle Unlimited. However, you have an ebook on Amazon. There is a trend of readers boycotting Amazon and leaving the platform, and that's kind of been an ongoing thing, but it seems to be something that's growing in recent times, and so something to be mindful of. And so this is something I thought would be even more important to share because a lot of folks use Amazon KDP for their pre-orders, and so that's why we're here today, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and share in the group, and if you are not already in the Sell More Books Facebook group, then go ahead and join there, and I'll add the link for that as well. And so it's just a community where we can share ideas and for you to be able to get feedback on what it is you're working on and encouragement because it can be lonely as an author. So I'll add that to the chat as well. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to be talking about why you should stop using Amazon KDP for your pre-orders. And before I start, I don't want you to feel as if this is something where I'm saying don't use Amazon for anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Amazon KDP might not be the best option for your pre-order for the majority of authors, and I'll explain what exactly that means. All right, let me get my comments going to make sure I didn't miss any from that. So, all right, let's get started. I do have some slides, but just to introduce myself, if you're not familiar with me, I am Ashley Shepard, the owner of Shep Publishing, and we help authors to publish profitably. And I am a full-time entrepreneur and actually had two different businesses for over 12 years. I still have them, but and I was working full-time at the time of having both of those. So if you're thinking you're busy, I get it. I don't work full-time currently. This is my current occupation and job. However, I understand what it's like to work a 9 to 5 and then come home to do the 5 to 9 or the 5 to 12 or whatever the case may be. And I'm also an uncloned marketing pro. And so that means that I am certified to be able to use the proprietary systems and frameworks from Uncloned Media Group with Audrey Richmond. And so you might see me over there in her groups and in her events and things like that. And then these are just a few places I've been featured, including the Nonfiction Authors Association, Disney, the Bible app, and otherwise. All right, so the number one reason why you want to stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP is the simple fact of the timeline of how long it takes for you to get paid. And I know that as an author, it can feel as if, well, I don't really want to focus on the money. That's not really my goal. However, you need money to move things, and you need money to make an impact. You need money to reach your readers. You need money even if you're just donating books to folks. And with Amazon KDP, if you host your pre-orders there, you are beholden to the policy that they have where you're not going to get your payment until 60 days after the person not the person purchases, 60 days after your book is released. Typically on Amazon KDP, you would get your funds 60 days after the person purchases. However, thinking about the pre-order timeline, that could be where, let's say you have a 6-month pre-order, let's say you have a 9-month pre-order. That means that your book is available to be purchased there. However, that also means that Amazon is not going to give you those funds until your pre-order closes and that book is delivered to the person. Because in this case, Amazon KDP only allows ebook versions of your pre-order. And there are workarounds to add physical copies, and we'll talk about those. But for now, I'm talking specifically on hosting it directly within Amazon KDP. And so if you have a 9-month pre-order and people are consistently you're getting those orders on Amazon KDP, you're not going to get your money until another 2 months. So that means you're having to wait 11 months to get paid for this book, when in actuality, if you were to host your pre-order on your website, you would be able to get it within days as opposed to waiting that long. So to me, this is a huge reason. Even if this was the only reason, this would be big enough for me to be able to just say, okay, look, this is not worth it in terms of the trade-off when it comes to being able to host your pre-order. And so let me know in the comments if that resonates with you, because when you think about being able to have access to your money, you want to be able to use that to pay for your publishing costs. If you are hiring someone for marketing, you can use it for that, or even just household expenses. We know nowadays things are skyrocketing, prices are increasing, inflation is real, and regardless of your socioeconomic status, things are just becoming more expensive. And so if you're able to have your money quickly or within a shorter time period and not having to wait months to get your income back, especially as an author where you've probably already waited months and even years to get to the point of publishing, then that's always a benefit to be able to get to that faster. And so, all right, next reason number 2 why you should stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon is because I mentioned this briefly, but directly on Amazon KDP, you only have the option to do the ebook version of your pre-orders. Now, if you've added your book before to Amazon KDP, you understand that the royalties for ebooks are typically not that great. And on Amazon KDP, if you're doing it on your website, that's a totally different story. And I'll give an example in just a second. But for the actual direct option within Amazon KDP, it's only giving you the ability to do a pre-order for an ebook. So that means that depending upon the size of your file, depending upon the price you set it for, the royalty that they have there, where you either get a 35% royalty or a 70% royalty, you are cutting out a big chunk of options by being able to have your pre-order for the physical copy of your book. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, well, I can do the Ingram Spark workaround. And so if you've done a pre-order there before, you understand that that's an option. You can host a pre-order through Ingram Spark and have it direct to Amazon KDP. And it would be an option where you'd be able to have the physical copy of the book show up on Amazon KDP. However, there are issues that can happen with that. There are situations where I've worked with authors and they went that route, and it shows that their book is delayed or their book is back ordered because it takes time for Ingram Spark to be able to make that connection over to Amazon KDP. And then also it takes time for your book to be physically connected to the ebook as well, especially if it's a hardcover. Typically your book is going to say out of stock if you're doing that pre-order option and directing it over there. And so that can be a bummer if you are trying to generate sales and then it says that your physical copy of your book is out of stock. As well, there is a third option that most authors don't typically use, and it's not through Amazon KDP, but it's through a separate Amazon program, and it just typically doesn't end up being the most profitable because you have to purchase the books and then ship those books to Amazon for them to be able to distribute to customers. And so, for the sheer fact of only being able to use an ebook version of your book in the pre-order period for Amazon KDP, to me, that's another reason why it's a no for me to be able to add my pre-orders on Amazon KDP. And I keep saying Amazon KDP because there's multiple options to get your book to appear on Amazon. And so just really want to reiterate that it's not all of the options, but the KDP option is not the best one. All right, now, reason number 3, why you should stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP. There are also situations where, and Amazon says this in their documentation, that you need to have your file available by a certain time period, or you can run the risk of getting banned from using pre-orders on Amazon KDP. Now, if you have your file ready to go, you don't need to make any changes, anything like that, then that's fine. However, what I often find is that there's times where you have a last minute edit or you need to make some type of adjustment. And if you're making multiple changes to your file, they actually can knock you out of the program to be able to use KDP for pre-orders. And also I think about moving on futuristically. If you are someone who has your book in, so let's say you have an ebook and you need to make an adjustment, you need to make a change. When you're doing that on Amazon, they will produce the new change for you. So you can send them your new file through Amazon KDP. You can send your new ebook file. But what can also happen is that the people who have already purchased it, they're not going to necessarily get that new file. There's extra steps that have to happen for it to even be accepted. And then they can also make the choice to not even accept it. And so all of that to me is a headache, because instead of just hosting it on your own site where you could just email out the additional file, or if they've got the physical copy of the book, then of course that's a different situation. But from an ebook to ebook version, it is just an extra step, an extra barrier that prevents you to being able to serve your customers well. And so it is possible to get these bans reversed. However, it is just an additional headache. Whereas if you were hosting your pre-order on your own website, it would be very easy for you to just push out the updated file. And I mentioned earlier with this, going back to a previous point where I was talking about, okay, here. So going back to this point. So back to reason 1 for a second. Talking about the timeline of getting paid. And so, for example, for my last book that I released, it was a cookbook, and the file size for that is quite large because there's a lot of images and it's over 200 pages. It's in full color. And so the price point that I'm able to make on Amazon for that book is about $3 to $4 for the ebook version. Whereas if I'm selling that on my website, then I'm able to make $20 per book because it is just comparable to be able to sell it that way. And so I'm also able to make more per book because I'm controlling the storage. It's simply a file, it's a PDF file, it's not anything fancy. You can use some other options like BookFunnel to be able to distribute it. But instead of making $3, I can make $20 on the same product, and I can still have the flexibility to be able to host that book on Amazon, but not within the pre-order capacity. All right, let's go to our next one. So number 4, with hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP, you don't have access to customer information to follow up with those customers. Now, let me know in the comments, or let me know in the chat, drop a 1 if you have ever wanted to know who actually has purchased your book from Amazon. And it's something where Amazon is probably never going to give us that data. We just have to get over that and understand there are workarounds to be able to get that indirectly by placing different things within the book, so adding a lead magnet in your book, things like that. But you are not going to have that information to follow up with your customer. So that means if someone is purchasing your book via pre-order through Amazon KDP, you are missing out on opportunities to be able to nurture that customer, to be able to even know who they are, to be able to send them follow-up emails, to ask them for a review, to be able to thank them for their purchase. You're missing all of these additional touch points to ask them to follow you on social media. None of those are options for you in a direct way because you are not going to know who is purchasing your book. You'll just be able to see how many books were purchased. Now, once again, there are workarounds for this. However, they're not the most direct, and therefore they decrease the rates of them actually being effective. And when you're hosting your pre-order on your website, in contrast, you have the customer information, you have the ability to follow up with them, they've given you permission to be able to send them continuous updates and to bring them along on the journey with you. And so when I think about the people who have been my pre-order purchasers, they're like some of my most raving, some of my most excited fans because they've been with me from the start. They were with me before the book even became available for pre-order, because we want to remember, we're not just meeting people and asking them to buy something as soon as our pre-order opens. We're nurturing them before the journey has even begun. And so if you are trying to use Amazon as your author platform or trying to use Amazon to build your audience, it's more challenging because you don't actually know who that audience is. And it just is an unnecessary hurdle that you can avoid by hosting your pre-order on your website. And if you're like, well, how do I do that? That's exactly one of the topics that my book covers, Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders. And so I'll add the link for that in the chat, but you can just visit profitableselfpublishing.com, and then you'll be able to have access to pre-order the book. And I'll add that to the chat over here so that you can have that in order yours. All right, so we are on our last one, and I didn't mention earlier, but go ahead and add questions into the chat as you have them, and I'm happy to answer them. So the last reason why I'm suggesting that you stop hosting your pre-orders on Amazon KDP is that you don't have direct access to website traffic. Now, I'm not someone who believes that you should completely exclude Amazon from your marketing or from your publishing. I don't believe that. There are people who do. To me, it's just not a smart decision, especially when I believe the last time I checked, Amazon gets 200 million visitors a month to their website. Now, not to burst anybody's bubble, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to be getting 200 million users to your website on a consistent basis that are ready to buy with the budgets that most self-published authors have. I'm not saying never, but the larger majority of self-published authors are not going to have that at their disposal. So it doesn't make sense to completely ignore the options that Amazon provides. However, it doesn't make sense to only direct people to a site where you don't have any control of, once again, the customer data. You're not getting the site traffic. It's not boosting your own SEO, so people are not able to look and see and have you rank higher on Google, whereas us sending all of our people to Amazon is actually not decreasing ours, but it's increasing their SEO versus increasing yours. And so there are ways to work around that so that you're able to still use Amazon for the long run, because you might be thinking, well, I mean, okay, I won't use Amazon KP for my pre-orders. However, I don't want to be responsible for fulfilling books. So there are ways to be able to marry those two so that you're able to host your pre-order on your own website and then use Amazon for the long run. And that's another topic that I speak about in the book and also my group coaching program, Pre-Order Profits. But the point here is that if you're going to be spending so much time and energy encouraging people to purchase or encouraging people to visit a website link, why not make that website link your own link on your own site and then redirect them to where you want them to go? So that way, at least you get people to your site. That gives you an opportunity to be able to have a pop-up for a lead magnet, or have a bar across the top or something, or somewhere on your site above the fold, above the scrolling line, so that people at least are familiar with you. You're building your author brand as opposed to just sending them directly to Amazon. Another thing is that when people are directed to a website link, if you're giving them your site link to purchase, you want them to just purchase your book. And if you're sending somebody to Amazon, or if you say, oh, buy my book on Amazon, you're wishing and hoping that they're going to end up on your actual book page. And there's a bazillion products on Amazon, so there's a good chance that they're not going to end up there. And let's say you do a step further and you send them the exact direct link. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. However, you still run the risk of them seeing, oh, okay, I can buy this, this, and this, or this thing pops up over here. Whereas if you are sending them directly to your website, you can control that narrative. You can control their path. You can control their customer journey. You can let them know there's other things that you have available. You can bundle other items that are existing with yours, whether they're experiences for digital products or physical items. You have so much more control and so much more flexibility when you're able to direct people to your own site as a primary, and then as a secondary, if you still choose to use Amazon, then that's an option as well. But when you're launching your book, when you're releasing your book, when you're in your pre-order period, it is so important to have people gravitate towards you, because let's think about it like this. You're making such a big fuss, you're making all this noise, you're doing all these big things to let people know, hey, I have a book coming out, I have a book coming out, I have a book coming out. Use that as an opportunity to get people on your email list. The times where I have been able to grow my email list the most is either when I'm launching a book or launching a program. So launching my books, or for example, launching my group coaching program, or things of that sort. And so use that as an opportunity to grow your overall platform. These are people who are already excited in what you're doing, are excited about what you're doing. They are invested in what you're doing, and they want to follow you on your journey. And when they purchase your book on pre-order from Amazon KDP, they are going to have the book as the pre-order, but then they're not going to really hear anything else from you beyond that until the book arrives. And depending upon how long your pre-order is, that can be something where it's a lot of missed opportunities, where you could be nurturing that person. You could be letting them know, oh, hey, I have a Facebook group you can join, or I have a community you can be a part of while you wait for your book to arrive. Or we have all of these bonuses and different items we're including if you purchase it on my site. And so you get access to those. And for example, for my pre-order, you get access to my private podcast, Pop-In Pre-Sales, where I go over my exact pre-order process, the process I use to be able to make 4 and 5 figures from pre-orders, and how I help my clients do the same. And so if I were to host my pre-order on Amazon, I wouldn't be as readily available or able to help people get access to that, because I don't know people's email addresses that purchase on Amazon. I don't know their names. I don't know anything about them. I just know they bought the book. And that's about it. I don't even really know the day they bought the book, because the day it shows up in your platform, in your dashboard, is not the day that they purchased it. It typically shows up when it ships. And so from a sales tracking standpoint, you have a lot more data when it comes to you hosting on your own website. So, all right, that was our last reason, and I'm going to check the chat. So we're going to do Q&A if there are any questions. And if you haven't already ordered your copy, you can grab your copy of my new book, Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders, at profitableselfpublishing.com, or you can scan the QR code that's there with your smartphone. And so I'll wait a little bit for questions. And then if you're watching this on replay, I forgot to say this earlier, but definitely add a hashtag replay in the chat. And if you are joining us later, then I am going to actually recap. I forgot about that. Let me go back and recap the 5 reasons why you should stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP. So number 1 is that you're not going to get paid until 60 days after your pre-order ends. So after your book's release. So let's say your pre-order lasts 6 months. You're not getting paid for 8 months. Whereas if you host your pre-order on your website, you would get paid within 1 to 2 business days. The second reason is that your pre-order is only available for the ebook format, whereas if you do it on your website, you have the option in a more seamless way to be able to host multiple formats of the book and also include additional experiences. Now, this one does have a caveat. You can host a pre-order for your book through Ingram Spark and have it send to Amazon KDP. However, there are issues that happen with that can make this more complicated. Then the third reason why you should stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP is that changing your files too close to your deadline can cause issues, and they can actually ban you from having pre-orders on their site. Whereas if you have it on your own site, you're not going to get banned because it's your own platform. And then reason number 4 is that there's no access to customer information to follow up with them, to allow them to come on your customer journey with you, to be a part of your pre-order experience, because you don't even know who the customer is. You have no idea who's purchasing your book on pre-order on Amazon KDP, because Amazon does not share that data with us, and they likely will not share that data with us in the future either. Then the last reason why you should stop hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP is that you don't have access to website traffic. So in terms of getting people over onto your website, if you're sending them to Amazon, then you're making a longer process for them to get to know you. You are cutting off options to be able to get them onto your email list, on your SMS text list, things of that sort, to continue that marketing process with them and to get them to be on your interest list, things of that sort. They're not able to connect with you in that way. So, all right, let me check the chat, and I don't see any questions. But if you're watching this later, definitely add hashtag replay, and then let me know what questions you have, and I will come back and answer them. And if you are thinking, okay, I'm not exactly sure how to go about this process of hosting my pre-order on my website, or I need a little bit more guidance, then you definitely should pre-order your copy of my book, Profitable Publishing with Pre-Orders, and it will walk you through step by step the process of how I host 4 and 5 figure pre-orders for my own books and for my clients' books, and to walk them through the process as well. And I hope this has been helpful for you. And let me know, are you going to host your pre-orders on Amazon still, or are you going to move them on over to your website? Have a good one.